I'm looking cute. Hello, my dears, and welcome to my channel. So the other day I was on Instagram looking through the Divine Feminine hashtag. Why I would do that to myself, I do not know. And I thought, we need books. The Divine Feminine is one of those terms that has just become meaningless in the spiritual community. The Divine Feminine, and the Divine Masculine too, are archetypes. They are transcendent ideas that help us understand what our humanity is about. And the Divine Feminine is something that we really should be talking about because it has been repressed in us for thousands of years. The Divine Feminine is very hard to explain, but at its core, it is the divine entity through a feminine expression. Now is the time we can finally identify with a spiritual practice grounded in the earth and intuition and flow and presence. So we're gonna get educated today, and I'm gonna share with you 7 of my most favorite books on the Divine Feminine. There are many more, and I actually have a list of dozens of books on the topic of the Divine Feminine on my website, so you can go and download that right now if you want even more than this, which you should. Just saying. And if you want even more than that, you should join me over on Patreon, where we're always breaking down these kind of complex spiritual topics, where I offer ways to embody ritual and magic and a practice that is both authentic and gorgeous. So join me there, check it out, and let's get reading. The first book that you have to read if you're going to educate yourself on the Divine Feminine is When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone. This book was first written in the 70s, and it was inspired by the new anthropological discoveries made by feminist scholars that were contradicting the established worldviews held for a long time in anthropological and other academic communities. This book argues that before there was patriarchy, before there was the thunder god on high, there was the goddess. It is deeply founded in fact. It does a really good job of giving you evidence and really proving that there is a whole world that our history doesn't tell us about. It looks at ancient civilizations like the Babylonians and the Anatolians and the Minoans, who all had a central goddess at the core of their religion, and how she was usurped. This book is foundational to your understanding of the Divine Feminine, not as an archetype, but as a historical reality. It teaches you not only how patriarchy happened, but what its deep effect was on our society, how women were perceived, and how feminine spirituality came to be eliminated. Read this. It is essential for your education on the history of our world. Number 2. The Great Mother by Erich Neumann. This is a big one. She's a little chunky. The Great Mother, The Analysis of an Archetype, is one of the formulative books on the feminine as an archetype, as a divine entity. Erich Neumann was a Jungian analyst, and he was very interested in archetypes. And he realized that one of the archetypes so overwhelmingly overlooked was the archetypal feminine, what he called the archetype of the Great Mother. It does a phenomenal job of really examining the reality of this archetype, how we experience it as individuals, and how we've met it as a collective. There are tons of diagrams and figures to help us understand how this archetype fits into the Jungian framework, fits into our complexes and our sense of self and shadow and the anima and animus and all these kind of tricky things that are difficult to get into. Just keep in mind, it's big. It is not for light reading. This is a heavy-duty project that you only get into if you're very serious. I have read it kind of twice. It's not easy, but it's doable. Next on our list is Dancing in the Flames, The Transformation of the Dark Goddess. The Dark Goddess in Transformation of Consciousness. The Dark Goddess in the Transformation of Consciousness. The Dark Goddess in the Transformation of Our Consciousness. I literally cannot get this. The Dark Goddess in Transformation. In the Transformation. Next on our list is Dancing in the Flames by Marion Woodman and Elinor Dickson. Marion Woodman, if you don't know about her, go know about her. She is one of the most essential voices in the conversation on feminist spirituality and feminist psychology. Her work is entirely based on the reintegration of our relationship with body, with soma. It is so life-changing. It was life-changing for me. So this is a really, really great place to start. This book takes more of a psychological perspective on the archetype of what they call the dark goddess. It includes poetry and other modalities like chakra work and body work to understand the divine feminine on a really deep level. This book, and really all of Marion Woodman's work, is a call to find the feminine within yourself, to do the work of digging, to understand how she is ever present and how she's been repressed. And I think it's essential when we're investigating the divine feminine to not forget our own psychology, to not forget that it's about how we connect to it now in the present. And there's so many ways that we relate to the divine feminine that we're not even conscious of. There's so many ways that patriarchy interrupts us and gets in the way of our genuine connection. And this book does a really good job of helping you navigate that. Next on our list is the one everyone's probably been waiting for, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa, Pinkola, Estés. This is a cool book, and I'll be honest, it's not my favorite on the list. I know, I'm very contrarian. I blame my Aquarius rising. But this book is undeniably profound. Clarissa Pinkola Estés breaks this book down into stories. She tells us the mythologies of women throughout our history. And through these stories, she shows us that women have lost their wildness. Women have lost their connection to that dark goddess that Marion Woodman talked about, this primal feminine energy that once was so life-sustaining. Patriarchy has made us tame, and our work is to liberate ourselves from that. This book is really foundational in helping women and everyone find that most authentic expression of the feminine divine and the liberated, potent self that exists within. So you absolutely must read this book, even if it takes you a year and a half, like it did for me. Next, we have Rebirth of the Goddess by Carol Christ. Carol Christ's work is absolutely fantastic. She is a theologian with a PhD from Yale. She is very educated and very smart. She's actually one of the most vocal scholars on the reclamation of the divine feminine, of really understanding what a feminist spirituality looks like and how to revive that in ourselves. This book is really great because it doesn't take the psychological perspective of Clarissa Pinkola Estés and Marion Woodman, but more so the theoretical perspective of what does it mean to worship the goddess or to reclaim her into your life. She asks the questions of what does that look like and why do we have resistance to it and how we can build ritual into our lives and really cultivate this genuine and meaningful practice. She sort of like takes your hand and walks you through the experience of allowing your spirituality to become more goddess-based, to become really rooted in the divine feminine. She is very academic, but without excluding emotion and experience. This is really a must-read. So for these last two books, I kind of want to get out of the academic world and I want to get a little bit more into the experience, into the pleasure of reading about the divine feminine. So this book is a little bit harder to find. I don't even know if it's still in publication, but it is really gorgeous, and it's Lost Goddesses of Early Greece by Charlene Spretnak. So what Spretnak basically does is look at the myths we know from the goddesses we all grew up with, like Athena and Hera and Aphrodite, and she examines them in the pre-Hellenic context. You can tell she's done so much research to really find the purer forms of these myths, to go back before patriarchy and find out what these goddesses were like. It is a short read, it's illustrated, it is beautiful, and it is just the myths we already know, but retold with the divine feminine in her truly glorified form, in her most potent magic and beauty. If you're a lover of mythology like I am, you are going to adore this book. You'll read it honestly in an afternoon and then probably read it again and again and again. The last book on my list is not really a book, so I'm cheating a little bit, but it is The Divine Feminine Oracle by Meggan Watterson. So Meggan Watterson has full books that I highly recommend you read, like Meditations in the Heart of the Divine Feminine, I think one of them is called. But I think when you're working with the Divine Feminine, you can't only be cerebral about it. You have to formulate a practice. You have to formulate an experiential connection. There are 52 absolutely gorgeous cards illustrated by Lisbeth Cheever-Gessman. And what's really cool about this oracle is that it doesn't actually only look at goddesses. It looks at real women who have been embodiments of the divine feminine. There's everyone from Kali to the Black Madonna to Sappho, and it is just such a cool way of examining the divine feminine through actual representations that are not necessarily just names of goddesses that may have actually been born out of a patriarchal mindset. It comes with a guidebook to help you understand what each card is there to represent. It guides you to an understanding of how the divine feminine can be incorporated into our lives, how we can be transformed by it. It gives you mantra and it gives you reflection questions, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And I've met Meggan Watterson, and she is a brilliant woman, and I just really think you should all get this deck. It is not even that expensive. I think it's under 20 bucks, so do yourself a favor and bring this into your life. All right, whoa. So that was my 7 books that I have for you. If you want more, again, go over to my website, PersephoneSister.com, and download my very full Divine Feminine reading list. And don't forget to check out my Patreon, where we talk all things divine feminine and spirituality and meaning. And there's so much more, like tarot challenges and Sunday poetry and new moon ritual circles coming up this new moon in Aquarius. Check that out too. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram for daily posts on wisdom and witchery to help you feel centered on your spiritual journey. This is fun. I feel like I'm 8 years old, and it's awesome. I am super glad you came on this journey with me. I hope you read one of these books or all of these books. Let me know in the comments if this was enjoyable for you, or if there's another topic you want me to explore. I am so glad that you're all here, and have a beautiful, meaningful day. But is this maybe a little Shirley Temple? And do I hate that?